What is going on, guys? It is good to be back. It's been a rough week, let me tell you. Not only in Habs land, but I have been sick as hell. No energy, no voice, but I'm glad to be back, and I am glad that four-game losing streak is over with the win against the Blue Jackets last night. And we will get to that. Believe me, we are going to celebrate. But first, we got to earn it. I pride myself on earning those celebrations on this channel, so bear with me. We're going to touch on the last three losses, which we have not had a chance to yet. The loss against the Preds, the Bolts, and then the Panthers. And then we'll get into the game against the Blue Jackets. So first things first, the Preds beat us 3-1. And you know what? I'm just thankful that this was a very entertaining game to watch. Way better than that first matchup these two teams played against each other earlier in the season, which was one of the most boring hockey games I've seen in a long time. But this most recent one was not that. And man, the goaltending duel. I feel so fortunate to have been able to witness that. I can't imagine what it would have been like to been in Nashville for that. The atmosphere in that stadium is wild. But yeah, Carey Price and Pekka Rinne put on a show, especially the first half of that game. Not only the saves, but the playmaking from both guys, especially Carey Price, though. He had a play towards the end of that game. I think he fed Thomas Tatar a breakout pass off the boards, which led to a 3-on-2 and then partial 3-on-1. Great scoring chance for Montreal, all started by Carey Price. Would have had an assist on the play, but Pekka Rinne stood tall and made the save. Carey definitely gave his team a chance to win that game, and it's unfortunate they could not pull it off in Shea Weber's 900th game against his former team. And the real unfortunate part is how the first goal got scored. Jonathan Drouin in the defensive zone, basically playing defense at that point as Kulak was up in the play, throws a pass up the middle of the ice into the neutral zone. Very bad giveaway. Craig Smith picked it off, brings it in, shoots it on net, led to a very big rebound, and Ryan Hartman finishes it off. Go figure, a guy on a more than 20-game goal drought, and he ends it against Montreal. Come on. So he gets the goal, and Thomas Tatar actually ties it up for us later on, and then the game kind of gets away from us in the third period. A very nice drop pass play from PK Subban, who, by the way, I thought Subban looked quite slow early in that game, but in the next two periods, he picked it up big time, making great plays and getting involved. And just what he did there. Great drop pass play to Brian Boyle, who snipes it down low on Price. What a season Brian Boyle is putting together. I think that was his 14th goal on the season and first for the Preds at that point. And he is going to be a great addition to that team moving forward ahead of the playoffs. It's a good thing they got him when they did, way before the trade deadline, before any other teams could put together solid offers for him. He is going to be a very good asset for the Nashville Predators in the playoffs. What else from that Nashville game? That's just about it. Price's breakaway stop on Arvidsson was fantastic. Arvidsson, one of the best goal scorers in the league lately. Breakaway on Carey Price, fake slapper, and Price did not bite at all. Makes the save. And but Arvidsson did end up getting one later on. Neutral zone giveaway from Ben, and it led to a great finish from the Nashville Predators there. Tic-tac-toe play, and Arvidsson finishes the play off from Ryan Johansson and Ryan Ellis. So we move on to that game against the Bolts, and this one wasn't as close as the game against the Predators. Montreal definitely kept that game against the Predators pretty close, and early on in this game against Tampa, they kind of kept that one close too, but for the most part, Tampa dictated the pace of play. They are an incredibly well-built team. The scouting and development that this team does is almost unmatched in the NHL, and the fact that these guys don't have to pay state tax and can be locked up on very team-friendly contracts makes it a bit easier, but that should not take away from how well-built that this team is. Their top nine is deep. The star forwards they have, the depth forwards they have, the young guys they have with elite potential. They've got a great fourth line. Then their defense deep as well, and then they got one of the best goalies in the league, and Andrei Vasilevsky back there, and what a performance he had against Montreal. Almost had a bit of another goaltending duel going on that night, but Vasilevsky got the best of Price, just like Rene did. But yeah, so Kucherov gets the first goal for the Tampa Bay Lightning, assisted by Stamkos and Palat on the power play. That was the power play that was drawn by that chipmunk-looking bastard, Adam Ernie. I cannot stand that guy. He was known for diving and embellishing when he was in the queue for the Quebec Nordiques. Friggin' greaseball, that guy. And the Mooseheads ended up getting the best of them, eliminating them and going on to win the Memorial Cup. But, oh, God. And I love seeing Nate Thompson get in his face and yell at him, "Get up! Get up!" Like, that was absolutely ridiculous. The fact that that is what sparked the Bolts to take over that game was so frustrating. And what the other unfortunate part about the beginning of that game was the offside review that went against us. Kotkaniemi a tad offside there, and would have been a completely different game if that goal could have stayed on the board. The first goal of the game in the Bolts' home arena definitely could have changed the outcome of that game, but it is what it is. Yanni Gourde gets a second goal for the Tampa Bay Lightning, yet again, off a very bad neutral zone giveaway from Jonathan Drouin. The team was going for a change. He gives the puck away in the neutral zone. They come down and get a really good scoring chance, and a team like Tampa Bay is going to finish it. Yanni Gourde snipes it on Carey Price, undrafted player from the queue. Once again, that's scouting from the Tampa Bay Lightning and the development of the players they add to their roster showing. We just want to point out right quick, Weber and Price had a great stop on Gourde there. I think it was in the third period. They kind of, or it might have been in the second. They combined to stop Gourde right on the doorstep. Weber with the veteran presence to tie the guy up, which messed his timing up just a little bit. And Price with the toe save on him there. That was a fantastic sequence there. Just showing what these two can do together defensively in goal. Yeah, so we move on to the game against the Panthers. This was a disappointing loss because you look at where the Panthers are in the standings, you assume the Habs are going to win. But the thing is, the Panthers are one of the most underrated teams in the league. And if it wasn't for their shaky goaltending and inability to get a save, and of course, Roberto Luongo's constant injuries, they would be a lot higher in the standings than where they are. They have quite a few underrated players. They've got a great top nine, some good defenders on their team. It's just the goaltending that's holding them back. They recently got back Vincent Trocheck, and I love talking about this guy. He's one of the most underrated players in the entire league. He is one of the best centers in the league. A lot of talk about how underrated Barkov is, which he is, but I think that's starting to turn a lot lately, especially with his performance this season and last season. But Trocheck is one of the best centers in the NHL, and he should get credit for it. He scores, he hits, he's a playmaker, wins faceoffs, great defensively. He is a fantastic player. They recently got him back, and that takes a bit of the load off of Alexander Barkov, and it definitely showed. He picked up a hat-trick against us, gets the first goal on the power play, assisted by Yandel and Hoffman, another underrated player in the league, Keith Yandel, fantastic left-handed defenseman. Malgin gets a second goal for the Panthers. Domi and Gallagher did their best to keep us in it. Domi with 2 goals on the night, and Gallagher with a nice snipe there as well. But yeah, it was Barkov who really took over this game, and that goal he scored between the legs. Those between the leg goals are you typically see those when guys are uncontested on the breakaway with no one on them and they can trick the goalie. And you also don't see guys pulling off that move in tie games. But man, that is one of the nicest, if not the nicest, between the legs goals I have ever seen. He had Victor Mete pressuring him on his back, and he still has the balls to make that move, and he pulls it off on Carey Price nonetheless. What a play, and it goes on to be the game winner for the Florida Panthers. Barkov ends up picking up another one after that, and Sheehan gets the empty netter. Just want to point out right quick, though, one of Domi's goals there, his second goal on the night, assisted by Mike Riley. It was a disgusting play, started by Max Domi with the zone entry. And backhand sauce, taped to space. He put enough heat on it to to put the puck where he wanted it to be, but he passed it right on the line, and he didn't put too much heat on it so that it would leave the zone. That puck stopped on a dime on the blue line and allowed Mike Reilly to skate into it and receive it in a very beautiful manner. I love the way Mike Reilly skates, opening up his hips from time to time to move very elusively. He did that very well on this play. Skates it in, pinches in, and a nice pass along the ice back to Max Domi, who tips it in style. What a great play. The first Domi and Reilly ended up to connect later on in the next game, in the Columbus game, but we will get to that. It's good to see these two guys gaining some chemistry. I really, really like the improvement from Mike Reilly this season. The stats aren't quite there, but they definitely will be. He was a steal for a 5th-round pick. He's a young player, and I can see him becoming a great player for the Montreal Canadiens. Yeah. So the other thing, though, to start this game, Niemi was very shaky. Very shaky. Did not look comfortable in the net. Gave up 3 goals on 9 shots. That's not good to see. The points in this playoff race are very valuable to Montreal Canadiens. You know, I respect what he's brought to this team. He's had some very impressive performances, including that last game he played against the Florida Panthers with 52 saves. But it may be time. I may give him one more start and see how it goes, but if he continues to look shaky, it may be time to move on from him. Whether that means putting him on waivers to finish his season in Laval, or trying to trade him for a very late round pick. I'm really not sure what you can get for Niemi, but if it means putting him on waivers and calling up Charlie Lindgren to give us a better shot in games and to have Price feel more comfortable with taking time off, it may be time to do that. Now, I don't like speaking negatively about any players, but, you know, it is what it is. Now, before we move on to the Columbus game, one more thing I want to touch on right quick. Jonathan Drouin has definitely been struggling lately. Even the team in general has. That's the thing. I don't know if they kind of got ahead of themselves after that win against the Winnipeg Jets, as a lot of fans did. I am guilty in that as well. I was kind of starting to putting the Montreal Canadiens in conversations with the best of the best teams in the league. Now, that's not to say that this team cannot beat the best of the best on any given night, but we need all 4 lines rolling and all our players playing at their best to do that. And that's quite difficult to line up every single night. So maybe the team got a bit ahead of themselves, and that's what maybe prompted this losing streak. But it's I hate to see all the negativity floating around and single players getting called out. And Jonathan Drouin was one of those guys getting called out specifically during this losing streak. Now, I'm totally okay with criticizing a guy and analyzing his play, but to start really piling on and being disrespectful is unnecessary, really. He is a fantastic hockey player, and it's cannot be forgotten how young he is. He's 23 years old, and he is on pace for a career year, on pace for nearly 60 points. So he's still having a fantastic year. The ups and downs are going to come, but that's what happens when you're as young as he is. Not every player is going to be an elite superstar at a young age in their early 20s. That's not to say he cannot still become that into his prime, which he is not in yet. So just the fact that he is developing well is a huge positive for Jonathan Drouin on the season. He definitely has to be a little more careful with the neutral zone giveaways. You do not want to be giving away the puck in the neutral zone. That's one of the worst places to give up the puck, because when you give up the puck there, it's likely going to result in a scoring chance. I'd like to see him be a little more careful in that area of the ice, and it will help him improve. But he's still been dangerous for us on most nights, and he had that fantastic game against the Jets. I'm sure we are going to see some very good performances from Jonathan Drouin here on out until the end of the season. But you got to give him some space to grow. You really, really do. Okay, guys. So that's about it for all them losses. Let's get to it. Yeah! The Montreal Canadiens defeat the Columbus Blue Jackets 3-2. And that ends the 4-game losing streak. Thank God, that was so hard to sit through, and those were some valuable points we were giving up, so it was huge to get the 2 points last night, especially when Carolina loses, and we can gain those points on Columbus as well with the win over them and keeping it in regulation, getting that win. That was clutch, and we start this game with Max Domi getting on the board. Bit of a broken play. Goes for the pass over to possibly over to Shaw, but it hits off the defender's skate, goes back to Domi, and he ends up burying it on the backhand. Mike Riley gets the assist on that play. Good to see these two getting some chemistry going. And then also in the first period, Paulie Byron back in the lineup, and he gets on the board with a goal assisted by Jesperi Kotkaniemi. What a winger Paul Byron is for Kotkaniemi. The speed of Paul Byron helps, but the ability to finish is really good to see on that line with Kotkaniemi. And the one thing about Byron, not only does getting him back add a 20-goal scorer back into your lineup and adds that leadership back into the lineup, but the speed that he plays the game. He balances out our top 9, but then the speed that he plays at, it's crazy how he can impact a game with that speed. It's contagious through all the lines, when especially the line he's on, but he just adds so much to this roster. So he gets on the board. We go into the second period, and Josh Anderson gets the first goal for the Columbus Blue Jackets. This is a great player for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Yet again, another underrated player. He's still young. He's got lots of room to grow, but he is my kind of player. A power forward that does it all. Hits and can plays well defensively and will get on the board for his teammates and will stick up for his teammates. I really like how Josh Anderson plays, and I also like how Boone Jenner plays. And he got an assist on that first goal for the Columbus Blue Jackets. So it's 2-1 at that point. We go into the third period, and Nick Foligno ties it up for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Josh Anderson and Boone Jenner, the assists on that. Great game from those two guys. But it is Thomas Tatar with the game winner on a nice pass from Jordy Ben. Man, a snipe pass to the tape of Thomas Tatar through traffic in tight. Makes the pass, and Thomas Tatar finishes it off. Yes, that win was huge. So that puts our record to 32, 21, and 7 on the season. Good enough for that first wildcard spot in the Eastern Conference. Now, some quick notes on that game. First of all, Philip Deneau missed the game due to the birth of his first child, a baby boy, Philip Edward. So congratulations to the Deneau family. I hope you're enjoying that precious quality family time right now with your newborn. Now, despite Deneau missing that game last night, the Habs went 55 to 45% in the face-off dot, besting the Columbus Blue Jackets last night, and a lot of the credit there has to go for Nate Thompson, who filled in for Deneau in that absence very well. He's not going to offer you a whole lot offensively, Nate Thompson, but defensively he is very sound, and I'm really liking what I'm seeing from him ever since Marc Bergevin acquired him. He's great at breaking up plays in the defensive zone, getting in passing lanes, and using his stick check to steal pucks from opponents, and he's also real good down low in the corners. So he's going to be a very valuable piece to this team in that bottom 6 moving forward, and it was nice to see him look comfortable in that spot in the top 6 last night, specifically his defensive play, but he did have 1 or 2 nice scoring chances as well. Also, Andrew, actually, you know what? While we're on the fourth line, let's talk about Dale Weiss right quick. He has been somewhat unnoticeable in his first few games played with the Habs. Now, I love Dale Weiss, what he brought to the Habs in the past, but he's clearly not quite the player he used to be, especially in terms of that speed. But you know what? He wasn't having the greatest season before coming to Montreal anyway. So to expect him to just turn it around just by getting acquired by the Habs is a bit unrealistic. Maybe some time down in Laval, which is where he is now, mainly due to a roster crunch and Byron coming off the IR, but maybe some short stint down there with Joel Bouchard will help him get his game back on track. And I do still really like that trade because David Schlemko really wasn't going to offer much to the Habs moving forward, being down in the AHL. Now we have Dale Weiss, who can be a depth option for us later in the season and especially in the playoffs, a big body on that fourth line. Also, Andrew Shaw with the fight against Scott Harrington. Anytime he drops the gloves now or is in scrums in tight to the net there, I'm getting really nervous, clenching my jaw. But the thing is, that's part of his game, and I don't think he's going to shy away from that anytime soon. So good to see him handle himself there. Okay. And speaking of fights, Domi sticking up for his teammate Mike Riley after, you know what, a bit of an accidental spear on Mike Riley there, and he goes into the boards hard, chest and face, straight into the glass. That looked like it hurt, but good on Max Domi sticking up for his teammates. This is a tight-knit group, so to see them stick up for each other is really, really good to see. Last note here, Kotkaniemi, 2 assists on the night, which is great. He is significantly better at home than he is on the road, and that is not a coincidence, and I'll tell you why. It's because Claude Julien has control of the line matchups at home at the Bell Center. So with Kotkaniemi getting better line matchups at home, he's able to thrive just a bit better in that home arena, and it's not a bad thing. He's already endured himself to those home fans in the Bell Center, which is awesome. So that win last night was huge, and of course Max Domi now has reached his career high in points with over 20 games to play. So that is amazing. Big win, guys. If you like my videos, please subscribe, and you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ScotianCanadien. Go Habs, go, baby. Woo!